dann geht das so billig. Nee, aber wenn du guckst, in Bariton, Saxophon, vielleicht mal wenn ein Yamaha 50 ist, oder 6 Euro.
So therefore, whether you are entitled or not for something, or you need a certificate, which is already the politician and most of it will be granted. Think of the Godfather movie kind of style. The other effect here is religion, talking from an 80s, 90s kids' point of view, and religion was totally linked us, where the class when they are just 1 month old, without any form of say, at school, like I said, religion lessons, after school, where they go to religious club, or donation, or sacraments, that already was part and parcel of our run. And one of the steps, which is after ARTZ, where it become every religious celebrates one of the same. Here, in this restaurant, I say that we prevent overlap. You can have certain in the church, which is followed by a huge street party with that. But what it is, it was born in 1988, and one needs to keep in mind that early 80s and 1987, political violence was daily on the island. As late 80s, 90s kids, we grew up in a very small country, we are towards joining the European Union, and this moment history wasn't very strong. This series is a coming to terms with the baggage and questions I grew up with. I have been commuting between Milan and Berlin for the past 8 years now, and Berlin for us young Europeans involved in the arts is a very great place to be and opportunities. Working in the government, after learning that the government started to be very activity for the foreigners and other
Malta, a small archipelago in the Mediterranean Sea, and one of the smallest countries in Europe, rich in history and tradition, and a popular tourist destination. Malta can be read as one huge man a display of power coming before the kingdom in a world where self-worth depends on the arrows built through fireworks and the flashing stars. Resources and opportunities are limited. It is drilled into our consciousness that we do not grab in others' work. So let's make hay while the sun shines. The complexities and contradictions inherent in the Maltese experience are evident even from the cursory read of its history. Our slow introduction into modernity has been hampered by the geographical reality of isolation, the political reality of the colony, and the cultural reality of a conservative Catholic country. This frontier ecology was sorely tested in 1960 on the conflict between the state and the church recently. Our self-perception was safely a little effect was deeply demonstrated through the referendum on divorce. It's a time when Malta was the only country in the world fighting for the Green Vatican City where divorce was not legal. The Maltese church still has a considerable and active say in the arts. Malta has seen a rise in Mafia-style executions in recent years, the latest being the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia, the journalist who has investigated corruption at the highest political levels. These incidents bring to mind the similar situation in nearby Italy, such as the late 1970s Mafia wars. Collective memory can be a deceptive tool. In the case of countries with a history of political violence, such as post-Nazi Germany, Suharto's Indonesian massacres, and the Troubles in Ireland, memory is extremely selective and subjective, and its discussion a very delicate matter to this day. The collective memory of the Maltese population is similarly traumatized. The unsolved murders of Karen Breck, Raymond Caruana, and Daphne Caruana Galizia are still issues that resurface now and then on some evening talk show. Generations born after 1988 can barely relate to what happened, and there's a gap in the collective memory of such generations about the political happenings of the 70s and 80s in Malta. A dearth of information on the period and the lack of political commitment to face these issues highlight a silent desire to bury recent, inconvenient history.
Back in 2015-16, I've decided to work on this series, which basically tackled two major factors which dominate and affect life on the Maltese Islands, which are basically politics and religion. One may argue that these two factors, they affect all societies. However, Malta is a bit of a particular scenario for the simple reason that Malta is a place which you cross over from point A to point B in an hour by car. Therefore, this gives an element of total control. The insularity gives the effect that everything is within reach and everything can be accessed. This gives off an echo chamber effect where politics are accessible, where the politician may be your next door neighbor, your old friend from class. So therefore, whether you are entitled or not for something, or you request a favor, you just go directly to the politician and most probably it would be granted. Think of the Godfather movie kind of scenario. The other factor tackled here is religion, talking from an 80s, 90s kids point of view. Religion was totally ingrained in us. We were baptized when we are just 1 month old without any form of say. At school, primary, secondary, we had them religion lessons. After school, we were made to go to religious club in order to do the confirmation and other sacraments. Therefore, religion was part and parcel of our life growing up in Malta. An important aspect of religious life in Malta is the festa, where every town, every village celebrates 1 to 2 festas dedicated towards a particular saint. Every year, in these festas, the sacred and the profane overlap without any sort of filtering, where you can have a sacred solemn ceremony in the church, which is followed by a huge street party fueled by alcohol. Back to politics, I was born in 1988, and one is to keep in mind that early 80s up to 1987, political violence was the daily norm on the island. As late 80s, 90s kids, we grew up in a very swing country, geared towards joining the European Union, and this modern political history was never discussed in schools. This series is a coming to terms with the baggage and questions I grew up with. I have been commuting between Malta and Berlin for the past 8 years now, and Berlin, for us young Europeans involved in the arts, is the holy grail, the place to be, the land of opportunities. Working and exhibiting in Berlin, I've learned that, although from an outsider point of view, Berlin is the place to be. However, the Berliners, or people who have been living in Berlin for a number of years, would say that Berlin is changing, and of course the old argument about gentrification.